entire study place a mess. At this very moment, I realized that I still had a long way to go to pass the exams with flying colors. Nevertheless, getting a result that is considered average. On the SPM trials recently, I had successfully become the biggest failure ever. I got 7 fails, 1 C and 1 B. Ever since then, I tried to put so much effort into changing my results. But nothing seemed to work. I was just the same idiot that got 7 fails for his SPM trials. I felt pathetic. After throwing a full-on tantrum, I decided to tuck myself into bed while sobbing myself to bed. There's nothing more I can do, I whispered under my breath. I felt like the only option I have now is just to accept the fate that I'm an utter disgrace to my family and friends. I prepared to give up an entire lifetime filled with joy and pleasure just because I didn't try hard enough. I decided to quit. Only then, I remembered my dad and the tragedy that happened and affected our family deeply. A story of an unemployed man with a wife and 3 children who was doing his best to bring food to the table for his loved ones. A few years back, the company Abah worked at was badly affected by the oil and gas economic crisis. Many had lost their jobs. One night, Abah came back from work. He looked exhausted and miserable. He said he was okay, but it seemed fishy. He didn't break the news to us right away, but we knew something wasn't right. It was only after 2 days he finally broke the news and told us. The company is downsizing and I lost my job. He was fired after working for 14 years with the company. My siblings and I did not think much of it, but my mom was worried about our well-being. My dad assured her that everything is going to be okay because Allah will never test His servant more than He could this time. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 206. And he was right. My family and I always had enough to eat. Either breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even supper. Several months passed by, and Abah was still trying hard to get a job. It was hard for him. He was applying to every job application there is. The economy wasn't improving. Small companies couldn't afford to hire him. Meanwhile, big companies were not hiring people. Although it was difficult, Abah never lost hope, especially in Allah. He would always make it to pray 5 times a day at the mosque, do Qiyamul Layl, and increase in the sadaqah, even though he was jobless and needed the money himself. He always reminded me to keep on doing good deeds, no matter how hard it gets. He would also tell us to ask Allah for help, especially when we are in hardship, because Allah is always close and prepared to accept His servant's prayer if we call for it. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 186. It was nearly 4 years of no good news. Savings ran out, and Abah had to owe money from his siblings and friends. But I never saw him giving up. He went for interview after interview, but failed to land a job. Of course, it frustrated him. I saw sorrow on his face, yet his smile never fades when he was around my siblings and I. He said that Allah is the best planner, and we must be grateful and accept whatever we went through in life. Our worries worsened during COVID-19, and the whole country was on movement control order. Even before MCO, it was hard for him to get a job. Imagine how would it be possible to get a job during the MCO. Would my family starve due to poverty? I asked myself stupidly. But how wrong was I? In December 2020, Abah got an invitation for an online job interview. He was praying for the position. All of us was. I remembered how my mom and dad kept on asking us to make lots of dua, especially during the mustajab time, be it when it was raining, late Friday noon, and in between the azan and the iqamah. My dad always encouraged my siblings and I to pray 2 rakaat before Fajr, for the hadith saying it is better than this world and its contents. And on one Friday, when it was about time for Maghrib prayer, my dad received a phone call. Alhamdulillah, thank you. I'll wait for your email. After 4 years, that was the most awaited call he was waiting for. He got a job, and we can never thank Allah Ar-Razak enough for the risk He blessed my dad with that day. Alhamdulillah, Abah is no longer jobless. Of course, he has to start saving then, But reflecting back, Abah has shown us the real example of never giving up. My dear children, as long as we remember Allah, Allah will remember us. Never forget Him and never leave Him. That was what Abah told us when I asked him how he did it. Thinking back to this event made me sob even harder. What was I thinking? My parents didn't raise me to be a miserable loser who chooses to quit whenever it gets hard. I sat there in bed, mulling over what a loser I am. My father had a source of income of 0 ringgit, but still managed to feed his family of 5. From that night onwards, I swore to myself that I would not give up because I knew that Allah is with me. And I will forever cherish Abah's word of wisdom. That is the reason why I chose to not give up when I decided to quit. Thank you very much.